So hey, it's David Heatley here from Cycling Inform, and I've just got Paul from Sierra Sports and Tours on the call tonight. We're going to be talking about the 2019 schedule for some of the tours that he's running and some of the releases, because I know that the Tour de France and the Volta, the Tour de France have released their course for this year. We'll be talking a little bit about that, and Volta, they're releasing it this coming Wednesday. But you've already got some of the inside scoop on what's that what they're going to be cover off and some of the terrain on that. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about first those two, and then some of the other tours that you run throughout the year.
Yeah, so basically, the pro races is one category of cycling tours that we focus on. It's not obviously all clients want to follow those races, but we know that there's a lot of keen people wanting pro racing action. So we have tours that follow the classics, which are the early part of the European season, so around anywhere that March and mid-April period. So especially the Flanders and Roubaix events are, incredible races,
Oh,
Hell of
yeah.
the North and Ronde van Vlaanderen. And so there's lots of history, lots of amazing routes, and just, yeah, people who are really, I guess, keen cycling enthusiasts just love getting across to Belgium for those events. And we run, yeah, a tour that intersects both of the Flanders and Roubaix races with a lot of nice riding in between, away from the race as well. Then we also get to the Grand Tours. So we've got the Tour de France last week was just released, an interesting development there with the race. And then also this week they're releasing the Giro.
Okay.
So the Giro, obviously, we've got some good contacts with some of the pro teams and we've got a bit of inside word, but we've got two itineraries there already up on the website for those two events. And then the Spanish race La Vuelta will be early January that they'll release the itinerary there.
Right.
So
Okay.
people can still see an example itinerary on our website. But they're the big races. And this year, for the first time, we're going to Dauphiné as well, which is the most important lead up race to the Tour de France. We often run out an annual French Alps tour, but this year, with a lot of interest around that race, we're doing a special tour this 2019 because you're always close to Lake Annecy, the French Alps, and it's just the perfect combination of creating a really nice tour for our guests. Yeah.
Fantastic. So tell me, what's going to be the highlights for the tours, like, for the Tour de France, now that you know that the course has been released? What are some of the highlights for 2019 that you think are going to be pretty special for that particular year?
Well, yeah, next year they're creating well, there's a lot of a talk about it being a really tough mountainous course next year.
Mm.
But there are still a lot of the sprinters talking about some good opportunities for them as well. So at least it's not. Sometimes the Giro and La Vuelta are really heavily skewed on big mountain stage finishes. The Tour de France has a better blend.
Mm.
And this year it seems like the Tour's still got a bit for the sprinters, which is good because they lug their bodies up over those big mountains every day
Yeah.
after day, and they've got to get some rewards for a stage or two for themselves as well. But we'll be sort of more getting towards the final week with our cycling tour when they move from the edge of Provence and move into the Alps from the southwest. And basically there they got five big mountain summit finishes for the tour this year above 2,000 meters. So there's a lot of talk about how those demanding stages at altitude
Mm.
will come to affect the peloton. Like as recreational riders, you ride your rhythm, you deal with the altitude, you deal with the long climbs, but when you're racing competition, it's a different ball game. So there's a lot of talk about that. So we're really interested to see the big stage where they cross Col de Vars, Col des Ouards, and Galibier all in the same day. That's going to
Mm.
be a really amazing day, and we'll be there to see that stage. And there's also, they're passing Col de Saran, which is the highest European mountain pass. It's not the highest asphalted road in Europe, but it's the highest pass at nearly 2,800 meters. So in all the history of the tour, it's only the eighth time that they'll go up to
Wow.
that altitude. So they're testing the peloton for sure.
Yeah.
And
So
we,
yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. And
and
then
then
sorry, Paul. And then
no, sorry, I was just saying that's going to be really tough and put a lot of demands on the races are going on. That's stage 19, so it's right at the end of the race as well.
Fantastic. So I assume that it's going to change the selection for the teams for 2019. Do you think it's going to have a major impact on the riders they're going to be selecting for teams for that year?
Yeah, they're going to continue with only the 8 riders from each team, which they trialled this year. So that obviously made some impact last year already, and so it's going to continue. And this year, there's also less individual time trialing than other years, so they're going to definitely create teams to help GC contenders for sure this year or next year. Sorry, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. And what are some of the other tours? So you mentioned a little bit about the Tour de France, the Giro. Yeah. So any insight, Goss, on the Giro?
Yeah, the Giro's, it's there. There's going to be released this week. There's a lot of talk of stages up around towards the end of the race near Venice, Bassano, in the region of Fossa, Asiago. So there's some big climbs up there, and they're also not heavily skewed in the Dolomites. They've got some pre-Dolomite mountains, which are still a lot of those 15 to 20k climbs, but obviously at the Giro time of the year, the weather can be dicey at times. So they've still got some big stages there. They're looking at going over the Stelvio as well. So that's always a bit iffy at that time of the year, but they've got it in the program. But we like to basically start our tour in Venice. Bassano del Grappa's got some really nice cycling near the Prosecco wine region. You've got Fossa Climb, Monte Grappa, which are regular Giro climbs. This year they won't be in the race, but we like to warm up the group away from the race, do some good climbing at relaxed speed, and then we'll move in and see some of the big races along San Pellegrino, which is another beautiful area. And then we'll also skip the race for a day and do the Sella Ronda, which is one of those amazing ring loops with 4 climbs, all above 2,000 meters, one of the sort of epic destinations. And then finishing down in Verona, they're going to finish with an individual time trial for stage 21, which is obviously, usually the race is still pretty live, and that'll probably be the one that ends up crowning the Maglia Rosa this year. So they've got the Roman amphitheater all prepared, and they'll be finishing the time trial there in 2019.
Fantastic. Excellent. All right. Well, look, Paul, I really appreciate your time. Thanks very much. Now, if the best way to get in contact with you is on your website, you've got most of these already up there apart from the Volta and the Dauphiné. Is that correct?
Yeah, those ones are still up in the hands in terms of the dates are always for the Dauphiné start of June, and the Vuelta is always the first couple of weeks of September. So we know the dates more or less, but we just need to wait till early next year for those races. But apart from that, the full program for all our other tour offerings is already live and bookings are open. So yeah, Sierra Sports and Tours on a Google search and you'll find us.
Excellent. And you've got some early bird specials on at the moment. Is that correct? Up until the end of November. Is that right?
But we've sort of got a scaled system. So up until the end of November, there's a lot of tours still with €150 discount. And then that when December rolls over until the end of the year, they'll sort of drop to around €100. So there's some good offers there at the moment.
Good bargains to be made. Fantastic, Paul. So Sierra Sports and Tours, do a Google search and find out some of the tours that he's got and tick off some of those bucket list climbs and rides that you've been wanting to do for a while over in Europe. Paul, I really appreciate your time. Thanks very much, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right.
Yeah, David. Cheers, mate.